The opinions expressed by the guests on this podcast are not necessarily those of the hosts or the producers of this show.
Hey, it's your girl, Renee Graziano, and welcome to the Crisis Queen podcast. And we said crisis because I cry a lot. And it's okay to cry. Just cry it all out. I have a very dear friend with me today. His name is Nick Morgan. Hey.
What's up, Renee?
I know. Why are we always in these chairs?
I know, right?
It feels like
it seems to happen a lot. I think like one of the first times we actually had good conversation was in a chair just like this, you know?
Absolutely. You interviewed me when I went to Legacy Treatment.
I think you were the first interview I ever did on a podcast.
Woohoo! Okay, so let's let everybody know how we actually do know one another. And I'm gonna let you take it.
Tell everybody how I met you.
Yep, it was at the strip club.
Yeah,
and,
it was 3 a.m. No, I'm just kidding.
It's 2 a.m. Okay.
So I actually met you because I picked you up from the airport.
Yes.
Right. I was working for a treatment center at the time.
Correct.
And they said you're going to pick up Renee Graziano from Mob Wives, and I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like she's crazy, you know what I mean? Like what am I gonna do? I got a bottle of water in the car. I got to make sure I have some snacks. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget picking you up from the airport. And that was kind of, I don't know, probably one of the times that you started your journey of sobriety. And picking you up from the airport was a pretty wild experience.
Was I stoned?
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, you were definitely on one for sure.
Yeah. I went through that. It's my last chance to get high, so let me get stoned before I go to treatment.
Yeah, as most people do, you know.
Yeah, well, it's a little disappointing for me, like knowing the extra chances I've taken, and that could have been my last chance. Like it did happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Later on, when I came back for you to help me get well, and I dipped out for a second, you know, and well, I'm gonna cry early.
It's okay.
No, I don't want to cry. You know why? Because
queen.
the crisis queen. Yeah, I don't want to cry. You know why? Because I just celebrated 7 months, and you just celebrated 9 years.
Yeah,
that's right.
We're both killing it.
Yes, we are. So I want to take you back. I know your brother, the anniversary just passed 8 years, correct?
Yeah.
And
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
5 years. Oh, you're 9 years clean 5 years ago.
Yep,
okay.
exactly.
Like same as my dad.
Yep, exactly.
I remember the interview and I remember meeting your brother. And he was like excited to meet me.
You're going to make me cry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nah, it's cool.
No, but it was a really heartfelt moment when you meet somebody that actually is excited to meet you. And when, for me, I didn't think very much of myself, but he thought much of me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it was really nice to have that moment. And I'm glad I was able to put a smile on his face.
Yeah. And I really think that's like one thing that it's just made like our relationship special is that like, you were able to meet him like, shortly, before, he passed away, and that was probably like one of the coolest things he got to do. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna go to do a podcast with the celebrity." You know what I mean? We're from Southern Illinois.
Right.
He just got to South Florida and got clean. You know what I mean? And he put some time together, and it was just cool to be able to like bring him with me to be able to do that interview with you. And I still got that picture of you guys.
Yeah.
Look at it all the time. And unfortunately, as I do, my passion today is helping people get sober, and I've been doing it for 8 years as a recovery advocate, and finally got my brother to come down to South Florida and get some treatment and get sober, and moved him in with me, and he did the whole 12-step thing, and was in the gym, like best shape I've ever seen him in his life, and on April 28th of 2019, I came home from a conference, and I like to tell this story because I want people to be mindful, of how they speak to people they love. And myself and him had gotten an argument, and just some brother shit, what I mean? Just going back and forth, on some, can't remember what we were arguing
about. Brother bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But we weren't being nice to each other in text message, you know, on like a Thursday or a Friday. And like I said, I was out of town speaking at a conference, and on Saturday, you know, I just didn't like how the conversation was left off, you know,
Right.
and I just had that like feeling in my gut. I sent him a text message, and I was just like, I love you, bro, you know, and he sent me a text back, and he said, I love you too, and you know, then I came home on that next day and that Sunday, and I found him, you know, passed away from a fentanyl overdose. And that definitely, like, you know, it's the worst thing that I've ever been through in my life, you know, and it changed my perspective on how I speak to people, you know what I mean? And especially like the people that I love, you know,
Right.
and because tomorrow's never promised.
No,
you know?
it's not
You
at
can
all.
relate to that too, you know?
Absolutely. But before we go there, I want to go back a little bit. I want people to know about your parents.
Yeah.
Because the way you spoke of your mom and your dad, I wouldn't have known that you were adopted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that came out wrong, but I don't know anyone that's been adopted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just know you got a mom and a dad, and that's the end of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
could you tell the viewers about adoption? And,
Yeah. So
and did that play a part in your addiction?
for me, like, my adoption was kind of like, I guess I want to call it like weird in a sense, right? Because like a lot of the time when like someone's adopted, they're just adopted, and then that's their parents. They have no contact with their biological family until later on in life. Then some people want to go search for them, and you know,
Right.
because you have questions. You know what I mean? You want to see people that like look like you know?
Right.
But for me, it was an open adoption. So
Okay.
if no one's familiar with open adoption, it's they have the right to, you know, you have the right to be in contact with them just like throughout your life, you know?
Okay.
So they did that. And, you know, I had contact with my biological vessel, as I like to call her. I don't call her my mother, because
Right.
she was the farthest thing from that. You know, she would, throughout my life, like, she would be kind of like in and out of contact, because she was 16 when she had me, you know?
Oh, she was a baby.
Yeah, she was 16 years old, and she was, you know, from Bradford, England, which is
Okay.
like, if anybody's not familiar with like Bradford, England, is kind of like the ghetto of England.
And she has
you
an
know?
accent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, British accent. You know,
Wow.
the whole shebang. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm a little
Yeah.
fascinated with the accent.
Yeah.
To think
Yeah.
like you know, you could have
Yeah.
had that accent.
No, for sure.
But now you
for
sound like
sure.
me.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was an open adoption, and she would we would write back and forth. My grandmother, God bless her, wonderful lady, biological grandmother. She always kept in contact with me. They would send me letters on holidays, on birthdays, and stuff like that, and always really had contact with her. But the contact with my biological vessel was kind of in and out, you know. So
Right.
there'd be some years where I wouldn't speak to her, and then I would, and then, you know, because she was struggling with her own stuff, as I found out later in life, that she struggled with drug addiction, and she was a stripper, and she traveled the country and stripped in Tokyo and all types of places. So she was a model at one point, you know what I mean?
Well, you're handsome. She's got to be gorgeous, your mother.
We definitely like share a lot of like the same features, you know what I mean? We have like identical eyes, you know, which is pretty cool. But as I got older, you know, like I said, like I had some questions, you know what I mean? Like I had questions that I wanted to have answered. I wanted to see someone that like looked like me. You know what I mean? My mom is my mom. You know what I mean?
Correct.
She raised me. She's my best friend. She's the most wonderful woman. Like I cannot believe I put her through what I did back in my drug addiction. You know, she's been a nurse. Actually, next year she'll have been a nurse for 50 years. She's going to retire next year.
Oh, congratulations, Mom.
Yeah,
Congratulations. You deserve it.
Sweetest lady ever. You know what I mean? Like very humble and just an innocent woman, you know? And I'm very grateful to have been adopted. But like I said, as I got older, you know, I just had these questions, and actually flew over to England, you know, when I was 18 years old. And I met my biological mother.
Okay.
And they had came over when I was younger. Not that I didn't remember like meeting them. I was like too young, but.
What about your father? Was he?
I know he was never in the picture.
Okay.
I heard he had passed away. I heard he didn't. And again, it was hard to like get information from my biological
vessel because she was in and out of your life.
But she was also like a pathological liar. Just, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so a lot of the things that she would tell me, like she told me my entire life I was Italian Irish, right? I swear. It's like she told me these things that I'm Italian Irish, right? I did 23andMe. I'm 0.00% Italian. Okay, I have no Italian.
I could have actually told you that.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I have no Italian. In
Right,
me, so
right,
it's
right.
not a thing.
Right.
So, but it was just like little things like that you know, that she just wasn't necessarily like truthful about.
Right.
And to be
maybe
honest,
she didn't know.
and that could be true too, you know what I mean? And I did the 23andMe because I got tired of everyone asking me like, well, what's your nationality? You know, what are you? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, so like I did that like my whole life up until like 2 years ago.
Right.
And so,
was your brother also adopted?
Yeah, so my brother was adopted, and then my little brother, he was adopted as well. So us three, and then my sister's the only one that's like biological.
Wow, what incredible humans to adopt 3 children.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
My mom is like my rock. Like I said, she's the best. Thank God. I'm just so grateful. You know what I mean? Especially like growing up, like seeing people's lifestyles and some people not getting the opportunity to be adopted and raised in a
by a nurse,
family.
and your father is a surgeon.
Yeah,
I mean,
my dad's an orthopedic surgeon. Yeah, like I had a good life. You know what I mean? As a kid, and but crazy thing is I go to England, and the entire time I'm over there, I'm literally getting drunk and I'm snorting cocaine with my biological vessel the whole time.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
oh
it
my
gets
God.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just it was just wild, and like she's a very violent person. You know what I mean? And like I figured out a lot of things that I didn't know. You know what I mean? But my mom, God bless her, never wanted to like talk shit on her, right? Never wanted to keep me from going to meet them. Like she just warned me, like, look, you know, she's had issues in the past. You know what I mean? I don't know her status, but if that's what you want to do and it's going to answer some questions for you, like I'm going to support you with that, you know?
Right.
And I did it, and it was just honestly wild. She like threw a bottle at my head while I was over there. Like she got in a fight with my biological aunt and like hit her like in the face. Like it was like some crazy shit went down.
And you don't have a temper. I mean, I don't. Every time I've been around you, I've never seen that type of temper around you.
It takes a lot for it to come out of me. It takes a lot, and it's not always been that way, but it's been also like I took years of working on myself to you know what I mean, be able to contain that. But as a kid, like I was always in fights. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I was
so
always
you're a little hothead?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Not these days, like as bad.
Right.
I'm not gonna say I'm not. But,
no,
you know?
You still. I mean, listen. Anybody could press the button and you get pissed off.
Yeah,
I mean, you could press any button on me and I automatically still go there. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me ask you: when did your drug addiction start?
When I was I want to say when I was 12 years old, right? I started smoking weed and I was like hanging out with my friends, drinking Mad Dog 2020s in the park. You know. 13, I started skipping school and, you know, I'm not coming home. You know, I'm 12, 13 years old and I'm just kind of like running rampant. You know what I mean? And
so do you believe your addiction was drugs or was it something before everything?
I think that I was more addicted to like chaos, right? I think I was like addicted to like the fact that
It says it on my finger.
Exactly. You
Chaos.
know, like, so if it was like, there was a group of kids over here doing some like fucked up shit. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, I want a part of that.
I'm going that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I think that I was just like born with that.
Was it also you wanted to fit in with a group? Did you ever like look back and say, well, maybe because your mom, the vessel, you know, did what she did, that you wanted to be part of a group that was something?
I feel like I was the group.
Okay.
If that makes sense. You know what
I know.
I mean?
I'm the star. I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
Get the group.
I was always like, I always fit in with everybody, right? Like I hung out with the football players. I hung out with the skateboarders. I hung out with the, you know what I mean?
So
like,
a chameleon. You were able to fit in anywhere and everywhere.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But like, before I knew I was a drug addict, right? Like I was just trying to have a good time. You know what I mean? And I think that's like how it starts for like most people, right? It's like we all just want to have a good time, right? Until you experience traumas in your life and you go through certain things, and you know the just things that you didn't think would creep up on you, and then people are supposed to grow up, right? So I ended up getting sent to a boot camp when I was 14 years old. Like they came and
You never told me this.
yeah.
You went to boot camp?
Yeah, well, I didn't know it was a boot camp until I got there. But
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
So I had I'll never forget it. I woke up in the middle of the night with 2 United States transporters standing over me, and my mom, my dad, my stepmom, my mom, and my stepmom being in the same room. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't good. You know what I mean?
Wait a second. So your mother and your vessel were in the same room sending you.
Not my vessel.
Oh, not your. I thought. Oh,
just
okay.
my stepmom.
Your Oh,
Yeah.
right, because your father. I
Yeah,
forgot. I'm sorry.
exactly.
Your father remarried.
Yeah.
Right.
They got
okay.
divorced when I was in 3rd grade, which I do believe definitely like played a part in, you know, it definitely like disrupted some things with me. You know what I mean? Like seeing my dad cheated on my mom. You know what I mean? And,
That's That's hard. I completely understand the cheating thing. Unfortunately, I experienced that as a child. Well, I wasn't even a child anymore. I was 16 when I found out. And I just drove the Mercedes through the garage door. Like that, like it was this, and then I hunted her down. Dead ass. When I'm not even fucking joking, with a letter opener, I chased her friend through my father's restaurant. It was Hedges. My older sister drove me. And then this other time in band camp, my sister Jennifer and I found out about another girlfriend, and we just wanted to. I told her I was going to spoon her fucking eyes out. Like, I'm not even. I'm not even tough. That's the craziest part is I'm not tough.
Yeah.
But no, that's horrible for a child, a young adult who believes that everything is okay in the unit. And then, you know, in your case, your father had an affair with someone that your mother knew.
Yeah.
And then has a child.
Yeah.
Which is your sister. No, brother. Sister.
So
Okay.
My dad actually had a kid with her, right? With my stepmom, right?
Right.
And she was about 25 years younger than my dad. So she was actually my dad's PA. So his physician's assistant.
Yeah,
and,
position, exactly.
Yeah.
The position is on her back.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
Stepmother.
No, it's not funny. She's just, we still don't like her. It's okay.
We don't like you.
Yeah, we don't like you. We don't.
That's one trauma we're not over yet.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that was definitely a traumatic thing that happened in my life, you know, leading up to me being out of control and things like that. And then, like I said, I woke up in the middle of the night and had 2 United States transporters just literally take me away in the middle of the night. They wouldn't. I was like trying to yell for my brother, but
is that like the marshals?
They're hired transporters, right?
Okay.
Like my dad pretty much paid these guys to come transport. It was part of the program that I was going to,
right.
And they just told me you're going to a new school. So I'm like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, you know, change of scenery. Like, you know, I'm getting in a little bit of trouble, you know, and like, I'll go to a new school, different girls, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's going through my head,
and
right?
it's like an all male.
Oh, man. So we get to the airport, and they actually, like, handcuffed me to walk me through the airport.
Oh, yeah, so it's like the federal marshals when they come and took my father, so yeah.
It's in a sense, but your parents are basically signing their rights away to this program and these transporters to take you to this place, you know? And once I was like handcuffed through the airport, I'm like, what kind of school is this? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
And
how old were you?
I was 14 years old.
14, okay.
And they took me away, and we get on a plane. We go to like Kansas City, Missouri. We fly into Kansas City, Missouri, and then there's like a 2-hour drive. And they gave me, I'll never forget it. It was like right before we got there, they gave me these 2 letters. One was from my mom, one was from my dad, and they were like almost like goodbye letters. And I was like, okay, like I'll never forget my dad's. It said, you might not understand. I'll never forget this sentence. It said, you might not understand the stipulations of boot camp yet, but you will. And I was like, boot camp? Like, why are we fucking going to boot camp?
So
you know what I mean?
Did that play a part in you and your father not having the best of relationships?
I think I held some resentment from that, right? Because it's like when I got there, and again, I don't think they were even educated on exactly like how this place operated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when I got there, we pull in, they got the sand pit there. It's just like a military boot camp, but for kids.
Right.
They open the gates, like there's a sand pit there. I step out the car. They slam me on my face and tell me they didn't tell me to step out the car. So there was a lot of like physical abuse there. You know, I
Oh,
was
that's
like, I
terrible.
was slammed on my face almost every single day. You know what I mean? If you looked a drill sergeant in the eyes, you got slammed on your face. If you moved in line, you got slammed on your face. If you didn't have your hands cupped a certain way, it was a sign of aggression. You got slammed on your face. If you didn't finish your food in time, they'd make you take your food with you and lay in push-up position and eat your food. And
Oh,
yeah.
this is where I'm gonna have to send my grandson, I think.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm joking.
it didn't help. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it didn't help.
No, it didn't. And I was there I was only supposed to be there for 9 months, but I was there for 11 months because I wasn't the most compliant and I was very combative, you know?
Right. I would still be there.
Oh, yeah.
If it was me, I'd still be there.
No, for sure. Well, the place actually was like after I graduated, after 11 months, I didn't get a phone call for 7 months. I didn't get a visit for 9 months, and then I graduated after 11 months.
Oh, wow. That's hard on a child.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it was kind of like them trying to do like the whole scared straight thing. And,
Right.
And that's why I've always never, that doesn't do anything for anyone.
You know what? I don't believe in tough love. I just don't believe in tough love. I think that, my experience with my family is my family overcompensated for a lot of things, but they also, and I'm speaking about my mother and my father, my father was hardly home. You don't know much when you're growing up, when you come from a wise guy. You don't know what your father actually does. He just brings the money home and everything's good. Everybody's happy.
Right.
But my mother, she enabled me terribly.
Yeah.
Terribly.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I do. There is a part of me that feels bad because she's such a good woman. Like I told her the other day, I said, "Oh, I'm celebrating 7 months." She's like, "Oh, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus." I was like, calm down.
No.
I was like, she was like, "You don't understand what a blessing this is." And I like hung up the phone and I was on the plane with my sister and I was just like, shit.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer stopped talking to me for,
I remember. I talked to your mom, when you were going through it the last time. And that's why, like, it is a beautiful thing for a mother because, like, I think, like, whenever we're doing what we're doing, right, like, we don't really understand how much it affects the people that we love and, like, how much sleep that mom loses, right?
Yep.
And, like, that's one thing that I didn't really realize until, like, I started helping people myself is that, like, it's a family thing. It's like a family thing, right? Like, we're not the only ones that, like, struggle. We're not the only ones that are hurting, right? Like, especially, like, parents that have that relationship with their kids that they love, like, it's like, they're losing sleep every night. They're waking up every day expecting that phone call to be like, like your kids passed away, right?
Yep.
And like my mom got that phone call. You know what I mean? So like that's like when we get a kid that comes in, you know what I mean? That like I can be on the phone with his mom and tell his mom like, hey, he's okay, right? Like he's in a safe place. Like has structure and he's like you can go to sleep tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And like that's just such a powerful thing, man. Just for a mom to be able to go to sleep knowing that like their kid's okay.
I gotta say I'm so grateful that AJ doesn't drink and drug. I mean, AJ could have a drink if he wanted to. You know what I mean? But he don't
doesn't
drug.
have a problem, like,
no, not at all. He despises drugs because he looked at his father and he looked at me and he's like, "That's who I don't want to be."
Yeah.
And I always told my son, the one thing you don't want to be is me, but the one thing you want to have of mine is my heart.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that I have a son who never like left my side. I mean, he stopped talking to me for a while, but this time around, Nick, 7 months, I talk to my kid every fucking day.
I know, I love it. I love hearing
He makes a video for me.
Yeah.
Like saying,
I saw it.
It's
I love
this
it.
feeling of, I know right after he makes the video and I get it, it's going to be like, "Mom, do you want to buy me a pair of sneakers?" But you know what? I wouldn't even care, because he, like, you helped me when he came into California and, that one, what was it? The one that works for you. What's his first name?
Who?
The one who picked us up from the airport.
Oh, Nolan.
Nolan is so sweet.
Yeah, he is.
Shout out to Nolan.
Shout out Nolan. Shout out little bro.
Yeah. So let's switch gears. So you left boot camp around 15. So then let's say 15 to 21, because I want to get into when your best friend passed away.
Yeah.
So those next 6 years of your life were like chaos?
Yeah, so I mean, I got out of the boot camp, right? And my dad thought I was like this guy. He's like, "Oh man, my son graduated this boot camp. Like he can just do whatever he wants now." You know what I mean? So I moved in with my dad and tried going back to public school. And I always hated school. I hated school. I could not focus. I'm like ADD. Like
Right.
I never did good with tests. You know
Right.
what I mean? But
Tell
like,
me about it.
I just hated it. And so I like manipulated my dad. I'm like, Dad, you know, I just, you know, public school is just too much. And, you know, I can't do it, you know? So he hired a tutor, you know what I mean? And, you know, I went right back to hanging out with my same friends that I was hanging out with before I went to the boot camp. But I wasn't necessarily like, you know, popping pills or anything, but I was drinking alcohol, you know? And, you know, the way that alcohol is looked at is, you know, let's just say my parents, right? Or my dad, for instance, it's just alcohol, right? You can buy it at the store. It's cool. It's fine.
Well, because he's right.
Yeah, no, it's
they shove
normalized,
it exactly. There's
know?
commercials about it. Oh, have a drink.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got a new car. Toast to that. You know what I mean? And like,
exactly.
Wait, I just got a new car. Let's cheers.
Yeah, and then go drive the car. Right?
Exactly. I don't think anybody really realizes the what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it right now. The severity of alcohol.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Like, oh, you had 2 drinks, you could drive. It don't fucking matter. It could be 1 drink.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just crazy the way that the world works, right? And like the stigmatism when it comes to other, you know, things. And but alcohol is normalized, right? So I you know, I'd be hanging out with my friends and they'd all be like smoking weed, or you know what I mean, they'd be popping Xanax and Vicodins, and you know, I'd always have my pint of Captain Morgan in my pocket.
Oh,
you know,
you drank like hard liquor.
Yeah. So I would always drink, and you know, like I was drinking because I wanted to have a good time, right?
Did you think you were Captain Morgan, Nick Morgan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got that liquid courage all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I was getting in fights, and you know, eventually I'm not coming home again, and I actually started traveling the country and going to music festivals, and I had a blast. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it was all like miserable in those times, you know. But when I got out of the boot camp, it was just kind of like, I justified it because like, oh, well, I went to a boot camp and I graduated. So like,
so I must be good now.
Good, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I went to a lot of music festivals, did a lot of psychedelics and just drugs, and sold drugs and did drugs. And I did not abide by the don't get high on your own supply. Like, everything that any profit I made went up my nose or fucking, you know, up somebody else's. And that's just how that went. And it was fun. You know what I mean? I had a good time for a while. Until it wasn't fun anymore.
Well, you thought you were having a good time.
Yeah, you know, at the time, right? And then, you know, I remember coming back like one winter, and I started working at a Little Caesars, and somebody gave me a Vicodin, you know, and I took the Vicodin, and I was like, oh shit, man.
That's right.
I think
colors got vibrant.
Oh yeah.
The feeling got warm because that's where mine was started on Oxy 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the OCs back in the day.
Right. Well, my ex-husband shattered my coccyx bone, so that's what they put me on. Like, and when he shattered my coccyx bone, like 5 years before they put me on the medication, and then it was just like the body took, you know, it takes a toll with the abuse, and I was high as a kite. Yeah. 72 hours. Yeah. Addicted. Yep. Terribly addicted.
No, absolutely.
And that's horrible that we know that the government allowed it to happen.
No, 100%.
To all of the children that ended up, not all of them, but would you say maybe 75% of the dope addicts are because of this big pharma bullshit?
Yeah, that back in the day, it said literally on the Oxycontin bottle, not addictive.
I gotta smell that.
It's all talk, so it shoots towards me, but but that's what it said back in the day. It said non-addictive. I got mine.
Okay. I don't think that are we allowed to vape?
Yeah, they'll just cut out whatever we're saying while we're vaping, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it said non-addictive on the bottle, on the Oxycontin bottle. So I think that like
did it?
Yeah.
I didn't read the bottles. I never read the bottles.
Back in the day when the pill mills were and the doctors were prescribing all that stuff just like crazy, and there's lines outside the doors, like it literally says it said non-addictive on it. You know what I mean? And
I got a lawsuit.
Yeah, no,
well, I know there's a big, huge lawsuit. I was asked to join one.
Those guys are in prison at this point. You know what I mean? That just completely like wiped out a whole generation of people.
What about the ones that when you go to treatment and they're selling the patients off? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Imagine, like, what's it called?
Patient brokering, yeah.
Patient body brokering, right?
It's the same, and that started pretty much in Florida too, and that's kind of where like the whole pill mill thing started. You know what I mean? The healthcare industry is just fucked up.
So what's a pill mill? Explain that to me, because I don't actually know what that means.
The term pill mill is just basically like, back in the day, the doctors were able to, like, all these urgent cares or these pain management doctors, like, you could literally walk in, right? And they had to deal with Oxycontin, or the reps that would come. And the more they prescribed, you know what I mean, then they were paid as well, you know?
So they made money off giving patients drugs.
Yes, exactly. And there was more patients referred to them, therefore they would have to pay for their visits as well.
So then the doctor became the drug dealer.
100%.
Well, I think that's where mine started, to be quite honest. I know that I was on Oxy 80s, diet pills, water pills. I was on 2 Oxy 80s, 6 Roxys. Yeah. And then, my cocaine. But, and then my cocaine, which I think you know what the craziest? No, I separated everything. I was clean about it. But you know what? I think the pills did more damage than that cocaine could have ever done.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Because that's where the overdose came for me. You know what I mean?
I totally
and
agree.
And then I'm very fortunate. I never picked up a needle.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. You know what I mean? That, from my understanding, it's just legal dope.
Yeah.
No,
it is.
But that was my first overdose, was because of all of that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why everybody went to heroin, right? And then, like, because heroin's like stronger than the Oxycontins, and
it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
And you don't have to wait for your appointment.
Yep. Just call the doughboy. He'll pull up. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So, tell me about your best friend that passed away.
Yeah. So, like I said, I got addicted to the Vicodins, and he kind of was. We both did,
Right.
I got to a point to where, like, I was like stealing from my girlfriend at the time, and to get the Vicodins, and then Vicodins went to Percocets, and Percocets went to morphines. One is too many, and 1,000's never enough. Like, that was kind of like where it progressed for me and him both. And I was actually living in the basement of his grandparents' house, because my parents didn't want me around at that point, because
So is this when you and your dad really stopped communicating?
It was around the same time,
Okay.
right there, and because I was just a trifling drug addict at this point, right?
Right.
Where it went from having
you
fun.
You were a lost child.
I was.
I hate when we call ourselves drug addicts. The certain names from I feel about the word junkie. Like that should be nobody should ever say that word.
Yeah.
But I think because we're lost souls. And I mean, me personally, I just think is where, I know this might sound bad and people can say, she's crazy. But chosen, because our path is so much harder than the person that can wake up and be fucking normal.
Yeah, no.
They go have 2 drinks and go to sleep. Or even some people, and I'm not saying I promote drugs, but the one person that can go do a couple lines, go to bed the next day and do life.
Hey, my hat is off to you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool if you can do that, but for me personally, like, I can't have one
not
2
sexy.
lines of cocaine.
It's not sexy.
And that was our problem. Myself and my best friend.
Right.
And I remember I was like in and out with my ex, and I went to his grandparents' house to get some clothes. It was just July 4th of 2014. And while I was there, a police officer came to the door, and his grandparents were there. I was there, and the police officer asked, does Aaron Emery live here? And we said, yeah. And he said that he passed away from a heroin overdose. And, like, that was my best friend, you know what I mean? Like, that was the one that, like, if I had a bad idea, he was the guy that was like, let's do it, you know what I mean? Like, from diapers, literally from diapers. And that's really what took me to a place where I didn't know how to handle the loss, right? That was the first real loss that, like, I'd ever experienced. And he just... I lost like a grandmother before, you know what I mean? But it was my best friend, he was like a brother to me. And I didn't know how to handle that. And a lot of people would be like, well, dude, then you should have just got sober right then.
Oh, don't you love those people?
I mean? Yeah. Like, why would you keep doing drugs? Like,
what's
your
wrong
best
with
friend
you?
just died. Like, I'm like, no. Like,
your life isn't bad.
Yeah.
Look at your life.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a bed, a house, a car,
Yeah.
No, I fuck them.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Excuse my language, but I can't stand the fucking person.
They don't get it.
No, they don't get it. And I'm actually really speaking about my sister Jennifer right now.
Yeah.
And I say that because, and I'll tell you why I say that. she's so fucking intelligent.
Yeah.
Like 4.0, valedictorian, NYU, all this shit,
Yeah.
but does not comprehend the feelings that she's more of like, shit, don't get off the pot. If it's not working for you, don't do it. And my thing is like, but it is
how my
working
dad
for me
was,
because it's numbing my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why do you want to be numb for?
Yeah.
Just get over it.
Right.
So your husband and you were divorced 20 years ago. Get over it.
Yeah.
Get over it. And
Yeah.
I don't think they understand that we don't have the ability at that particular time to
Yeah.
get over it.
Right.
Because first of all, we're already polluted.
Yeah, yeah.
So, our perception of things is, it's like someone touches, it's like if you touch the match, then you put it out. But when we do it, our hands on the stove. You know what I mean? We got to burn for us to feel something.
100%. Like, I had to bang my head up against that wall like 3 or 4 times to figure out, like, oh, shit, this hurts.
Oh, wait, you mean just block them? Oh, my God. All I got to do is just stop.
Yeah.
And things will get better.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. You
Yeah.
just got to stop.
Yeah.
And things will get better.
Yeah.
The
2 + 2 is 4,
Right. Right. We know it.
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
it, but we just don't.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way, and this is really bad, but I wish there was a way to give everybody the disease of addiction in a family so they could understand what the addict is going through.
Yeah.
Because we feel everything. Like, do you know what fibromyalgia is? Okay, so it's a nerve ending disease.
I've heard
Okay.
it. Yeah.
It's so everything in your body's on fire.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't understand. If you could get fibromyalgia, you'd understand your nerves are just, you're on fire.
Yeah.
Your brain is just,
Yeah.
my brain would hurt at times.
Yeah.
And I would say, my head hurts, my brain hurts. And my mother would be like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It means my brain was, and being ADD, ADHD,
Yeah.
dyslexic. I wrote right to left when
Yeah.
I was a child. I
Right.
was, and I'm not stupid. I
Yeah.
just was born with a disability,
Yeah, same.
And they don't realize that disability can affect you with addiction.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, you know it now that you have your own treatment center.
Yeah.
But wait, I'm sorry. My ADD kicked in because we were talking about Aaron.
Yeah. No, it's all
Okay.
good. But yeah, so that's really where, like, after Aaron passed away, like, that's where I took a dive, and I hadn't even done heroin at that point, and he passed away from heroin. What do I start doing? Heroin.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I told myself I would never use a needle, right? And I knew that he was hanging out with those guys that were known to be, using needles and,
Right.
doing the hardcore stuff.
Right.
And I even the night before told him, like, hey, why don't we just go to my girlfriend's house and you come over, we'll just eat some food, because it's at that point that he passed away, like, I was really trying to, like, be better,
Right.
and I'm like, why don't you just come over and we'll just have a couple beers, man, and, like, eat some food or something. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll come over, but he never came over. He never came, and I knew who he was hanging out with. And that's the insanity of, like, my drug addiction, was that, like,
That's where you went right
he passed
afterwards.
away from shooting heroin, and I go and I start shooting heroin. You know what I mean?
I want you to explain to the people that are very ignorant, that think dope addicts aren't doctors and lawyers. So what is a dope addict? Or who? Let's say, who are the dope addicts of today?
This thing does not discriminate.
At
You know what I'm
all.
saying? It doesn't discriminate, and there's so much like I said, there's stigma against, like, okay, well, this guy uses heroin. You know what I mean? So he must be a what? The J word.
The J word, right.
He must be the J word. But and me
And
being
for people that are listening, the J word means junkie.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to be clear, because they'll
Exactly.
think we're saying Jewish. Because, I just want to be very clear. The J word means junkie in this conversation.
Yes, the J word means junkie.
Yes.
And, people I think people with drug addiction, right, in this, like, box, right? And they think because, they're not, if it's a drug addict that isn't a professional, right? Or, someone that works at a convenience store or whatever, like, they put people in separate, like, categories. But realistically, like, if you're addicted to alcohol, if you're addicted to Xanax, like, whatever it is that you're addicted to, like, I have been doing this a long time, right? I've been a recovery advocate for a very long time. I've put doctors, lawyers, police officers, correctional
Firemen,
officers, like,
Mothers,
like EMTs, moms, dads,
yep.
professionals, wealthy people,
Ball players.
like,
Not just the
you
person
know,
under the bridge.
no.
Not just the person with the needle in their arm under the bridge. And
like,
that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
That's why it's like my mission to abolish the word junkie.
yeah.
Because it's just, when I hear kids talk and they're like, oh, I'm just a junkie. you're putting yourself in the box now
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
allowing people to tell you who they think you are.
I don't even, for me, like, I don't even go, like, if I go to a meeting or if we have our own meeting, whatever, like, you know, people raise their hand and they say, my name's so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic. Or my name's so-and-so and I'm an addict. Like, no, I don't say that about myself today,
Good,
right? Because
good.
the things that you say about yourself, that's what you are, right?
That's right.
I'm a person in long-term recovery, right?
yes.
I'm a person in recovery. Like, I don't say that about myself. And there's people that would disagree, you know, in the rooms of AA or Narcotics Anonymous, and that's cool and everything. But, like, you are what you say you are, right? And today, I'm not a drug addict.
No,
you know what I mean?
not.
And I'm not an alcoholic. And, you know, I really... You know, I hate the stigma that comes with that, and people don't realize that, like, it could be the news anchor that you're watching on the news that's going home and taking Percocet 30s every night.
It could
you know
be
what
the
I'm saying?
plastic surgeon that operates on you
Exactly.
and kills you
Yeah.
because he's high as a fucking kite.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. And you know what? It's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that surgery. No, that motherfucker shouldn't have been high working on me.
Yeah,
no, you know what I mean?
100%.
It's always, you still, like, nobody wants to say, oh, how do you know he's a drug addict? Because he's fucking high.
Yeah.
He did a 7.5-hour surgery in 4 hours.
Yeah.
He thinks he's fucking,
No, I get it. I mean, you heard about there was a pilot on a plane that was a passenger, right? That ate a bunch of mushrooms that was trying to open up the exit door.
That was
on the
just
airplane.
recently,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, or some guy trying to shut the engine off on the plane. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't discriminate.
No.
You know, and like I know that because, like, I've been in position to be able to be in front of people. Like, you know what I mean? Even with, like, you, Renee, you know what I'm saying? Like, and being on Mob Wives and, like, people, you know, seeing, like, you know, celebrities, like, on TV and, like, not understanding, like, they're only seeing that side, right? Like,
that's a job.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah,
I was broken.
Yeah.
Like these last couple of years, and you know this personally because because I OD'd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You died.
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
I've been a lot. I've been dead a lot.
Yeah.
You know. I've been dead a lot, but I'm. Like, that's what I think this podcast is so important, is because I want people to know, yeah, okay, you can cry, sis.
I'm over here crying.
But I want people to know you don't have to be that person that people shit on you and they look down at you. And, you know, I had somebody that I was involved with say to me, the only reason why people fucking pay attention to you is because you're nothing but a fucking drug addict. And I it sat with me, and this is the first time I'm saying it even out loud. I was just like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, maybe that's why everybody tuned in to, like, Tamron Hall when I did it, because I'm just a drug addict. I'm not just a drug addict. I'm a woman who's able to tell a story because I'm alive.
Yeah.
I should not be alive.
Yeah.
Car accidents,
Yeah.
ODs, none of it.
Yeah.
Domestic violence. All, like, I could have died by my ex-husband's hand.
Yeah.
You know, very easily, or the plastic surgeon's hand. But, you know, I'll kick and scream, I'll push, I'll fight, I'm not gonna lay down and die.
No.
That's just not for me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And as much as there's been times in my head, I've never said I'm gonna kill myself or I'm gonna do this. I'm like, that was never. But that's a thought that runs through your head when you're in the worst, darkest place of your fucking life. Like, after my father died, my identity was gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's Renee? Because Anthony's daughter worked better for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's. Whew, well, thank you for saving my life. Thank you, because
I mean, hearing you say that is like, it's you're the one that surrendered, right? You're the one that put in the work to save your life, right? Like, I just so happen to try to, like, put the tools on the table, and that's just really, like, what I want to do. And especially since, like, my brother passed away, you know what I mean? It's like I lost myself for a couple months, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, after that, and like I said to you earlier, like, for some reason, like, it's like it does get easier, right? And I feel like, you know, loss, right? It does get easier, but
it lessens. The pain lessens.
It does, but it'll never go away.
Never.
You know what I mean? And, like, it's this year, and again, we kind of talked earlier, but, like, this year has just been, like, super rough on me with my brother. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's, like, something with, like,
Well, you also going through a breakup.
You know what I mean?
You're also going through a breakup.
Yes.
Your business is expanding. There's a lot more pressure there.
Yeah. Rekindling the relationship with my dad. You know what I mean?
I mean, come on, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because I know your brother's got his hands on this one for you.
Yeah, no, he does.
You and I sat there and you were like, I'm not speaking to him. This is a good. And then he called. And when was the last time you spoke to your father before that phone call?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, almost 10.
We talked about it. One day after that interview that we did, he called.
Yeah, it was literally right after we did our podcast.
Yes.
And I never talk about it, right? And
I know.
And you pried it out of me. You know what I'm saying? You pried it out of me. And we did. And you know what you said you even said it on the podcast. You said, I think your dad's going to reach out to you soon. You know what I mean? I think you should text your dad. That's what you told me. And before I can even get the chance to like reach out to him, he reached out to me. You know what I mean? And his text to me was, hey son, you know, he said, I'm done being an asshole. And he said, hopefully you can forgive me in time. And I was like at the gym and I read it and I was like, holy fuck, like what do
I know, you text me.
I don't even know what to say. Yeah, I'm like, Renee,
you'll never fucking guess what happened.
You know, and I got on the phone with him and he wasn't doing well. You know what I mean? With everything, but he got in touch with God recently. You know what I mean? And his best friend is it has stage 3 cancer right now, and he's only got one best friend, and he's probably not gonna make it much longer. And it really put things in perspective for him. And he asked him, his best friend, you know, while he's laying in this hospital bed, and he said, like, Tom, like, wherever you go when you pass away, like, I want to go where you go, you know? And he said, if you want to go where I go, right, you need to get in touch with God, and you need to reconcile everything that you wrecked in the past. And my dad did that, you know? Not only did he reach out to me, but he reached out to my mother, and he finally, for the first time ever, apologized for doing what he did, you know what I mean? And the things that he put her through, and, you know, said that it was the worst thing that he ever did in his life, you know? So he's like had this like spiritual change, and he's like really in touch with God. And now we're like, I got on the first plane, literally, like he hit me up on like a Tuesday. I was on a plane on Friday. I went and saw my dad. You know what I mean?
And tell me now where he's going.
Now in August, we're going to go to Scotland together. You know what I mean? So.
You don't know how this makes me feel, because I, you know, not having my dad in my life anymore. It's just like, for me, I'm very grateful my parents always spoke to me. You know what I mean? Maybe like a little bit here and there they didn't, but I never lost one of my parents. And now that my father's actually really gone, there isn't anything I wouldn't do to get even just hear his voice one more time.
Yeah. And honestly, like, you're a big part of why, like, I was very like open, like I'm like, yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like tomorrow is never promised, right? Like my dad will be 75 this year. You know what I mean? He's starting to struggle a little bit with like dementia. You know what I mean? Because his dad had it. But I could just tell, you know, our conversations aren't the same as they were. But like, I'm glad it's happening now. You know what I mean? Because like, again, like I watched you go through like what we not go through, but continue to go through like what you go through with like, you know, missing your dad. You know what I mean? And like, it's just, you know, unfortunately that's part of life, that like, you know, people get older, and you know, as your family gets older, it's like, I think it's just so important to spend as much time with them as possible. Without
the drama, without the all.
Just being present, you
like
know?
You know what? Anything that, and I say this in hopes that someone hears me right now.
Right.
When I say anything I've done in my past to anyone in my family, I'm very sorry for.
Yeah.
And I never truly meant to bring anybody any pain and sorrow. But I would like to move forward and just have a good time. Like being away with my sister. This is the first time we're on vacation. Well, it's not vacation, work. In a year and a half. She didn't talk to me for a year and a half.
No.
You know.
No, I've seen you guys together. It's just, it's something beautiful.
So you know I was fucked up not talking to my sister for a year and a half. I had 85 managers. I went through all of this, and now I'm at this stage, like, one day she's gonna be a grandmother, and her kids and her grandkids and my grandkids are gonna have the stories of. Do you remember when Aunt Jen and Grandma Jen and Grandma Nene got together and they had to fight over the pie? Like, I remember we would always talk about my grandmother and her sister would have fights. They would call each other Butana, and they would curse at each other in Italian, and we would giggle and laugh. And I want that for my grandchildren and eventually for hers, but. you know,
Yeah.
you got to make it worth.
It's
Make it
just
worth
like
it.
even just sitting there, right? Like when I go see my mom, you know what I mean? Or just like sitting on the couch with her, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, we talk, but just like being there and like being
Yeah.
present it's a priority for me today. You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong. Like I'm trying to I built a business, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And I've got things, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
like, don't get me wrong, I'm a little bougie. I like some
That's all
nice
right.
stuff, you know?
You could be whatever you want to be.
But like,
You worked hard for it.
I did, and it's just like we don't take none of this shit with us. You know what I mean?
Nope.
But one thing that like I never want to have a regret of like I could have spent more time. Right? I put my business and my success in front of the time that I should be spending with my family.
Can't get
you know
time
what I mean?
back.
You can't.
Nope.
You can't. And I learned that when
Not even 30 seconds. It's gone.
no, it is. It's literally
completely gone.
It is, and it's. I learned that when my brother passed away, you know, and like now it's like I really think it put things in perspective. I've spent so much more time with my family since he passed away, you know, and like I said, the thing with my dad, it's just like that's really like my priorities today.
Good.
You know, is I never want to have that like. I wish I would have spent more time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to know that like I put in enough, as much effort as I possibly could to like spend time with them,
Right.
So like that's really like my priorities today.
Okay, so before we go, I want you to tell everybody about your treatment center
Okay.
so they know where to go. And if you
Yeah.
don't go there, I'm going to come and find you.
Yeah. Cool.
No, go ahead. Tell them where they can find you and if anyone needs to reach out.
Yeah, so like, obviously in this process, been a big recovery advocate for 8.5 years now. Just celebrated 9 years clean a couple of days ago. I finally opened my own treatment center. I
Right.
worked for treatment centers for years. Like I said, 9 years ago, I was sleeping under a bridge in South Florida with a needle in my arm, and today, I do have a partial hospitalization program, an intensive outpatient. And then I also have a transitional living that I named after my brother.
Yes.
It's called Patrick's Purpose. But the outpatient is called the Healthier Choice Recovery.
Yes.
Which it's more of a holistic treatment center.
Plant medicine.
Yeah. So one of the big components of our program is the fact that we don't discriminate against medical marijuana patients.
Right.
Which isn't your traditional treatment center. And once again, like when my brother passed away and just seeing so many people along the way not make it and continue to try like the same process over and over and over again and then die. You know what I mean? And the treatment center telling them to just keep coming back here so they can just bang out their insurance, right? Their health insurance. And then they've tried the same process 15 times and then they die. My mind got open to a different way of recovery.
I'm for plant medicine.
Yeah.
I'm 100% for plant medicine, which I'm going to have you back on and we're going to talk about all the different types of plant medicine because what I experienced in Mexico, I was not able to achieve with 12 treatment centers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't open to plant medicine. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to hallucinate.
Yeah.
I was in Dubai, in Mexico, in my mind.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kid you
Yeah.
not. Allah came down and had a
Yeah.
conversation with
Yeah.
me. I swear it.
But you had intent when you did it, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the one thing that where people think like, oh, well, they're just getting high. Like, no. Okay, what's your intent with this? You know what I'm saying? Are you using cannabis because you just want to get high all day?
Right.
We're not a good fit for that.
Right.
Are you using it with intent? You know what I mean?
To heal.
Like,
For me, for me it was I needed to face my trauma head on and I needed to hear somebody and not a human.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying anybody spoke to me. The experience I had was go back, you're not finished.
Yep.
And there was not a person there.
Yeah.
It was just this pure, and I say the mosque in Dubai because I've never seen anything more beautiful that in my life, and that's where I was in this beautiful heaven of you're not done, Renee. You have a lot more to do, and I'm going to help you heal.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I cry. Well, I'm crying now, but I mean the crying over my father.
Yeah.
I have not since March.
Yeah.
Not had that. Cry.
Yeah.
And I think there's some healing.
Yeah.
I really think there's some healing going on. And wait, ready? I don't take not one medication.
Look at you.
I don't take any fucking head meds.
Like,
Could you imagine?
Honestly, I can tell you, Renee, that like I've known you for a long time, right? And I've seen you in your like manic episodes and shit.
And my mess.
like yeah. And like you just seem fucking so alive right now. You know
now
what
if
I
I
mean?
could only lose weight.
Yeah, well, fuck that. That's fucking that's a
Well,
whole
you know,
nother
I figured
subject.
all that heaviness was, all those burdens were so heavy. I thought some weight was going to come off with that.
But you seem great. You know what I mean?
Thank
and
you.
really like alive, and you're like back to work. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, and
I appreciate you because you
know,
have been a great support system for me because my family didn't talk to me
Yeah.
and I didn't have anybody that knew me on such a personal, intimate level where I can have that conversation and be like, this is what the fuck is going on. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I'm not embarrassed to say it because I can't talk to them. My friends couldn't understand, oh, today I don't feel good. Like my hair hurts. And I say that because I do have fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
There were days that my hair would like, it feels like it was on fire, the follicles. So I think, I'm very grateful for you, and I thank you so much for coming on the Crisis Queen podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I
So
appreciate it.
let's give everybody a phone number and how to reach you.
Yeah, you can call, which is a great phone number, by the way. If you're ever interested in the treatment center, you need help. You just need a motherfucker that understands.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you're struggling and you don't know any direction. You can always reach out to me on Instagram. It's Nick Morgan Recovery. Very simple, Nick Morgan Recovery. And then our phone number is 888-THC-1420. If you want to reach out to the treatment center as well.
That's beautiful.
888-THC-1420.
1420.
Yeah.
I love you.
Cop that number.
Yes.
I love you too.
So everybody, if you need to reach Nick Morgan, his Instagram is Nick Morgan Recovery. Everything will be up on the podcast for you. And it is 1-888-THC-1420. Get healthy, get smart, and get sober. This is your girl, Renee Graziano, the Crisis Queen podcast.